Multiple law enforcement sources now say the escapee Richard Matt has been shot and killed, and police are in hot pursuit of the other fugitive, David Sweat. The breakthrough follows the discovery of what police called conclusive evidence uncovered in the search. Let's go to our national correspondent, Deborah Fair. She's got more. What are you learning, Deb?
Well, what we're learning, according to multiple sources that all our correspondents are speaking to, and that is that Richard Matt has been shot and killed. And apparently at about 1:35 today, shots were fired at a camper van. That camper van then calling 911. And it may have been those shots that essentially exposed the two prisoners and where they were located. Now, we are told that as of right now, there are no eyes on David Sweat. That means that while they were chasing him after Richard Matt was shot and killed, somehow he managed to elude authorities. But he is now alone. These men spent 3 weeks together and even longer planning this escape. They spent 3 weeks on the run trying to figure out what their next move would be. And now David Sweat all alone. We do not know whether, in fact, he has any sort of weapon or firearm on him. We do know, however, that shots were fired at that camper van, which was making its way to Malone, New York, not far from the Canadian border, Wolf.
And do they believe that these two guys were together at the time that Richard Matt was shot and killed by police?
Well, that's what it appears, because as soon as they shot and killed Richard Matt, they took off after a person that we're told was David Sweat. But somehow David Sweat, whether he had the advantage of distance or the advantage of cover in that wooded area, right now, we were being told as of a couple of moments ago, they no longer have eyes on David Sweat. So that could change any minute. This is clearly very fast developing. You've got people from, you've got police from the New York State Police, from the Corrections Department, from tactical teams, from the Special Operations Group, from the U.S. Marshals. So you've got a lot of people, and they are bringing all forces to bear. But what they were doing earlier today, Wolf, is they were making sure that they set up a perimeter close to the Canadian border, setting up really what was a line so that these two men could not escape. What they plan to do with that camper van, if in fact they were able to get into that camper van, well, that's clearly going to be part of this investigation, whether perhaps they even thought of going across the border somehow.
All right, we're going to get back to you. Deborah Fair, working her sources. Jean Casarez is on the scene for us. She's getting more information. What else are you learning, Jean?
Well, let me tell you right now, as we stand right here at the command center for the New York State Police, people are just driving back and forth, honking their horns at the command center and at us, thumbs up. So they are getting the news and they are happy. Now, when this news broke, and when we broke it, all of a sudden, helicopters, New York State Police, started leaving from the command center one by one after the other, because it was true that there was a pursuit of David Sweat. And that pursuit, they obviously wanted to help by air. But here's what the New York State Police have been telling us. It was yesterday near the village of Malone. So it's in that new area, in the northwest area, approaching the border of Canada, that a cabin was burglarized. And what police tell us was that what was found in there, to them, was conclusive. Then, this afternoon, they actually found some things in the field area. We don't know how close to that cabin, but we were told that they were processing those items at the state lab, processing it obviously for DNA, but they felt that what they had found was extremely significant. And then in the next breath, they said that they do believe these men are armed and very dangerous. And then it was now, but probably less than an hour ago, that all this came down and began to happen. You know, earlier today, I was talking with a neighbor of the defendant, Jean Palmer, who said that she is personal friends with the man that owned the shotgun that was taken out of that cabin last Saturday. And remember, the DNA of Matt and Sweat was found in a cabin last Saturday about 10:30 a.m. She said it was an antique shotgun, that it had been in the family for a long time, but it was something special. It was something that was so obvious to the occupant of that cabin. When he went to check on it, he knew it was missing immediately. So law enforcement proceeding, they were armed and dangerous, as Deb Fair has been reporting, also Pam Brown, that shots may have been fired to a camper this afternoon, an alleged hijacking, carjacking incident. And so at this point, as we have said, there is no eyesight of David Sweat at this point, and it is 5 o'clock in this area. It is still light out, but in a couple of hours it will be dark. Obviously much more difficult for those to help find this escapee.
Gene, stand by. Our justice correspondent Pamela Browns getting some more information on that carjacking. What are you learning, Pamela?
Well, we've learned, Wolf, that apparently Richard Matt had gotten a hold of a gun along the way and had shot at the driver of a camper near Malone, New York this afternoon in an apparent carjacking. That's what officials think he was trying to do along with David Sweat. This was a carjacking. He shot at the driver of that camper, and the driver of that camper called 911 and alerted authorities. We've learned that after that, according to sources, there was a shootout, and that is when Richard Matt was killed. Wolf?
So the obvious conclusion is these guys are armed. At least one of them, Richard Matt, was armed and had fired a weapon. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. And then what officials are trying to do right now is figure out if, of course, David Sweat has a weapon and where they were able to get these weapons. We know that they raided a cabin over the last few days, and so there's thinking that perhaps they were able to steal a weapon or weapons from one of the cabins. It's unclear right now, but what is clear, according to sources, is that there was a shootout and Richard Matt was killed after what was an apparent carjacking.
And the hunt is underway for David Sweat, who's being chased right now. All right, Pamela, I want you to stand by as well. I want to get a closer look at the fugitive who's been killed in this shootout. Brian Todd has got more on what we know. What do we know, Brian?
Wolf, we've been reporting on these two inmates for the last 3 weeks in detail. Here's what we know about Richard Matt. 49 years old. He was serving 25 years to life for kidnapping and beating to death his former boss, William Rickerson. Rickerson's body was found dismembered. That murder took place in 1997 in North Tonawanda, New York. Now, Richard Matt has got a Marine Corps insignia on his right shoulder, heart tattoos on his chest and left shoulder. His front teeth were reported to be metal, knocked out by prison guards in Mexico. Now, inside the Clinton Correctional Facility, sources close to the investigation have told CNN that Matt had a relationship with Joyce Mitchell, the woman who worked with Richard Matt and David Sweat at that prison tailor shop. Mitchell is alleged to have passed the two inmates tools inside frozen hamburger meat. Mitchell's husband has denied that she had sex with either inmate. Now, Mitchell's attorney says that Richard Matt considered Clinton Correctional Officer Gene Palmer, who has also been charged in this case, as, quote, his boy. Palmer's attorney has not commented on that. Now, after that Rickerson killing in 1997, Richard Matt fled to Mexico to get away. He served 9 years there for killing a man in a bar fight in Mexico. Then he was extradited to the U.S. to stand trial in the Rickerson case. A detective from that case described Richard Matt as psychotic. David Bentley, here's a quote that he gave to the New York Times. Quote, I have seen him inflict wounds on himself, cut himself, break his collarbone and not seek any treatment. He's just totally fearless and does not respond to pain. This also, Wolf, we have to point out, this was not Richard Matt's first escape. In 1986, he broke out of a jail in Erie County, New York, but he was recaptured after that. This is the end of a long and violent trail for Richard Matt, Wolf.
Erie County is where Buffalo, New York is. What do we know about the other inmate, David Sweat, who's still being chased?
That's right, Wolf. Sweat was serving a life sentence for killing this man, Kevin Tarsia. He was a sheriff's deputy in Broome County, New York. Tarsia reportedly shot 15 times and then run over as he approached David Sweat while investigating a burglary, in 2002. David Sweat, according to sources, also had a relationship with Joyce Mitchell inside the prison. One former inmate at Clinton who worked with David Sweat and Joyce Mitchell in the prison tailor shop, his name Eric Jensen, he told us he believes that Sweat and Mitchell had sex inside the shop's closet at least 100 times. Mitchell's attorney has denied that, Wolf.
And now that we have confirmed that Richard Matt is dead, that's certainly a relief to the detectives to put him away to begin with, right?
Absolutely, Wolf. And, we've talked to a couple of former detectives who worked on that case. One detective who worked on Richard Matt's case, that 1997 murder, he told me that police contacted him and warned him of Richard Matt's escape back on June 6th. Another detective who helped put Matt away told the New York Times that he had been prepared to defend himself if Richard Matt came after him. We had been told by law enforcement experts, former prison wardens and others, that for either of these two inmates, if they had any kind of freedom of movement, it might have been payback time for those detectives who put them away. And those gentlemen are, I'm sure, at least grateful tonight that this man is out of the mix.
All right, Brian, thanks for that report. That live picture, take a look at this. This is near Malone, New York. You see a police officer there. The suspicion is that David Sweat is being chased in this area. Richard Matt, the other escapee, has been shot and killed in this general area, but now the hunt is underway for David Sweat. They're looking for him, and there is obviously deep concern that David Sweat is armed. He's obviously very, very dangerous. Joining us now is our law enforcement analyst, the former FBI Assistant Director Tom Fuentes. Also joining us on the phone is Lenny DePaul. He's a former commander for the U.S. Marshals Service. Tom Fuentes, what do you make of this late-breaking development?
Well, I think it's a fantastic development that they've got Matt. He's gone. Now it's down to just one, and they've got a fairly confirmed location for where these guys had been and had been heading. So I think it's very, very likely that Sweat's going to be in custody by morning. Either in custody or dead. Well, same definition, just whether he's breathing or not.
Right. All right, Lenny, what do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mirrored exactly what Tom was about to say, but you know, both of them, if they were taken alive, they're going to spend the rest of their lives in segregation. So, you know, I didn't expect anything other than what's transpiring as we speak. So it's kind of, you know, the way it's going down, and hopefully no law enforcement gets hurt. But you know, it's accurate. About 1:30 this afternoon, that camper did report or called 911 on shots fired, and then he didn't realize that his camper had been hit until about 20 minutes after that. They got back on the phone and said, you know, my camper has been struck. Obviously, they were trying to carjack this fellow driving the camper. So thank God he was not injured. And this is what prompted law enforcement, New York State troopers, U.S. Marshals, the task force to respond to that area.
But Lenny, the hunt now for David Sweat, assuming he's armed, this is extremely, extremely dangerous for the law enforcement personnel on the ground.
Oh, absolutely, and taking into consideration what just transpired with Matt, and obviously they're armed. You know, suicide by cop. Who knows how this is going to play out? It certainly doesn't look. It doesn't look that good, you know, for him. But hopefully he's contained. I'm pretty sure that they probably have him in their crosshairs as we speak. Aviation support, everybody's there, so just keeping our fingers crossed.
Well, what worries me, Tom, is the community. If some individuals, some private citizens who may be in that area, they potentially could be in danger themselves.
They're in great danger, Wolf, and now that he's more desperate than before, you know, before they're just trying to maybe by stealth go from one cabin to another, one location to another, but now nothing to lose, knows he's being hunted, knows they're closing in. Any measure he can do to try to escape now, whether it's break into a home, get more weapons, get a vehicle, carjack a vehicle, the public is in extreme danger. Law enforcement is in extreme danger. He's got the advantage if he's armed and can hide behind trees and be a sniper as police officers close in. So this is dangerous for everybody.
Yeah, they're closing in, but they don't have eyes on this David Sweat, at least not yet.
But he might have eyes on them.
Well, you know, let's see. We're getting some more information. I want to take a quick break. Much more on the manhunt. A very, very pivotal moment underway right now. One of the killers is now shot and killed himself. He was shot and killed by police, and another is still on the run, but they look like they're closing in.